call. Do you want to say anything, Joe?
I just want to say, am I muted? No. I just want to say thank you for being part of the Merrimack Valley Chamber of Commerce. I think this Next Generation Leaders program of young people in business is fantastic. And I want to say thank you to all of you and ask you let us know how we can do more for you. And hopefully we'll all be back together in person as soon as we can. So thank you all. And wasn't that a great video?
Thank you. And I wanted to say, we are, we're waiting to get back together. We're doing these through Zoom. So thank you to Rayanne for setting this up today and working with us on this. And also thank you to TD Bank, who's our sponsor of the Next Generation Leader Series. When we said that we're going virtual, they said they still definitely want to be the sponsor. They want to support the Merrimack Valley Chamber events in the community. I just want to say thank you to TD Bank for that. We have Parker Williams on the call today. Parker, you want to say a few words?
Yeah, thank you so much again for having me. As always, I love these events. I think it's great that you've gone virtual with them. I think it's important to keep having them, and it's a great opportunity to hear from these wonderful speakers. I'm really looking forward to today's. I'm a big fan of Tuscan Kitchen. I like to eat a lot, so there you go. But so I'm excited to hear Edwin's story and learn more about marketing strategy and all of that. So TD Bank is happy to sponsor these events. And thanks everyone for coming. And Mike, thanks for setting this up.
Thank you, Parker. We appreciate your sponsorship. We appreciate the continuous support from TD Bank. So thank you again for your support. I just want to mention a few upcoming events the Merrimack Valley Chamber has going on. As the COVID rolled in, the Merrimack Valley Chamber did not stop. We want to continually promote these relevant and timely and informative programs for you, our members of the Merrimack Valley Chamber. Tomorrow, we actually have a networking opportunity. Wednesday, February 24th, we're going to be at 12 noon tomorrow. It's a free business networking mixer available to the members of the Merrimack Valley Chamber, which is completely free for the members. That takes place tomorrow, February 24th. It's at 12 noon. We also have our Women in Business program with Susan Legere Ferraro, who's the CEO of Imagine That, G3, and Inspirational Ones. That's going to be taking place on Wednesday, March 3rd, which is next week at 12 noon. It's a quarterly Women in Business series. It caps off with the annual conference also, but that's our next opportunity for a great Women in Business series. And we also have a great luncheon program, networking at noon at Shadi's Restaurant, North Andover. Very limited. There's only a couple seats left. So if you're interested in networking in person, make sure to sign up today. And all COVID-19 guidelines will be in effect. But again, we have the virtual networking, which take place every other week. And again, the next opportunity is tomorrow at 12 noon. Our Next Generation Leader Series will continue next month as well. I'm just starting to schedule a program. I want to thank Rebecca, Autumn, Danielle, and Rayanne, who are all part of the Next Generation Leaders at Ambassadors Group. So thank you all for joining us today as well. With that being said, though, I want to thank Edwin Santana of the Tuscan Brands. Edwin reached out to me saying he'd love to do a presentation for the Merrimack Valley Chamber. And we appreciate having him today. So with that being said, I'm going to turn it over to Edwin, and thank you for joining us.
Hey everyone, good to be here. I'm glad to be a part of the chamber, so thanks for having me. Everyone hear me okay? Awesome. So, when I think of Roundtable, I think of, people asking questions, engaging. So, feel free to write down these questions if you don't think that it's an appropriate time to interrupt so we can get to them. When I ask for any questions, I'll try and take some pauses in between each of the messages and what I'm talking about so we can really understand what I'm talking about and apply it to your business if possible. But to give you a little bit of background, my name's Edwin. I grew up in Lawrence, Massachusetts, and then I ended up going to college, waiting tables at Tuscan Kitchen while I was in college. Tuscan Kitchen was widely successful. Ended up paying for my college through waiting for tables with Joe, and just have a really good experience with him. And I went to Mass College of Pharmacy, was looking to be in the medical field, and then stumbled upon Joe's passion and his vision, and completely changed my whole life. Just seeing what he wanted to do with the company, 10 years ago, just letting me know that he wanted to turn it into what it is now. On a smaller scale at the time, and I was in for the ride. I was only 20 years old at the time, and I said, hey, I'm going to give it a shot. And I'm glad I did, because here I am now with a robust company that is into the food industry, manufacturing industry, real estate. And this pandemic has really, really showed me that I made the right choice. Most restaurant groups, all restaurant groups got hit really hard, and so did we. But you know, Joe is in a position where he has real estate and he has manufacturing that is able to pick up the hospitality side of things. So we're hoping to get through this together. We're almost there. I think. We were supposed to be there 2 weeks ago. We were supposed to be there in 2 weeks last year, but we all know how that worked out. But I do marketing, advertising for Tuscan Brands, which is Tuscan Village, our restaurants from Seacoast all the way to Boston. We have a catering company as well, and the real estate project and manufacturing project. So I'm busy advertising and marketing a bunch of different aspects of our company. So I have something to talk about all the time. And what I want to kind of dive into right away is understanding what marketing and advertising is. Ultimately, both of the marketing and advertising have the same goal, which is you want to get your message in front of a crowd, in front of an audience, and that's what the goal is. But I look at marketing and advertising as a piece of pie. Advertising is a slice of the marketing pie. Marketing is the entire analysis of your business and the integration of it, implementation of it through a ton of mediums. Advertising is just your banners, your billboards that are on the highway, your posts on social media, banners that are outside your establishment. That's advertising. So you're advertising a message. Marketing is your brand. It's all of that. It's social media. It's content. It's blogs. It's newspapers. It's editorial. It's not just trying to get a specific product across a table. It's getting your brand recognition across. And I think it's important to look at marketing and advertising through this perspective that I use, which is people do not talk about your product if they love it. People talk about themselves and how that product or service has applied to them. So these pair of jeans make me look good, and this cleaning service at my house puts me at this status. And this product that I'm using, I'm referring to my friends, so I look like an influencer. So if people love your product, your service, they're going to share it that way. They're not necessarily going to post a picture of a pasta and a sauce and say, "Go get this." Not everyone does that. They apply it to their life, and then they show their peers, this is how it fits into my life, and this is why I'm so good. This is why I'm so great. Social media has turned everyone into an influencer, and those column writers that we chase after aren't being chased after as much. But we'll talk about why we'll chase them still. So I think it's important to look at your product and your service and see how does it create that image, and use that as a way to advertise, whether you're using the billboards or social media, and market your brand. And we've done that successfully at Tuscan with our different concepts and different brands. Toscana Chop House is a higher end steakhouse. So we did our research going into the market through an email campaign, through a survey, understanding what the demographic is. And we understood that it was an older and people who go out to eat more demographic than our Salem, New Hampshire location. And our Seaport location was a younger demographic. So we understood what those markets were, and we advertised to them in a lifestyle basis. So how is dining at Tuscan a lifestyle? How do you see yourself here to make you look good. And social media has done that for us. Influencers have done that for us. People are able to identify with their close friends and influencers, and then they go ahead and they bite into that. They buy that same product. They go to that same restaurant because their trusted friend was involved in it. And it's the opposite if they don't like your service or product. They actually just talk about the product. They talk about how awful the pasta dish is. They talk about how terrible my accountant is. And they try to disassociate themselves with them and say, I'm never going back. And, so you have to be careful that you don't have them solely talking about your product that way. So see how it fits in their lifestyle. Ultimately, what we're trying to do as a marketer is strike the conversation. So that way that conversation is then talked about within their group. So we have to understand what is the solution that we're providing, and who is the person that we want to talk about this solution to. We have to understand what is our market. And we messed up a lot at Tuscan with understanding what that was, and it took us a decade to really understand these markets. An example of it is our catering industry. So we have a catering industry at Tuscan Market that we were heavily focusing on weddings. We were dumping money in these wedding expos, these magazine ads, and we just wanted to really break into that lucrative field where people are spending $40,000, $50,000, $60,000 on a wedding. But our product did not convey that. Pasta at a buffet for a wedding is not popular. Italian, pigeonholed to Italian, is not necessarily the best for everyone for a wedding. And so that's why these caterers don't necessarily share a menu with you. They're like, oh, tell me what your dream wedding is. And then they throw some of this cuisine in there, throw some of that in there, and they tailor it to the wedding client. So we thought about the people who we're trying to strike a conversation with, and we thought we should probably step away from spending so much money on the wedding client industry and focus a little bit more on the boxed lunches and the catering aspect. And then that conversation skyrocketed. We were successful with these boxed lunches that were quick and easy to go, and we found our niche. So if you find that what you're marketing and that conversation that you're talking about over and over is not resonating with the audience, then your audience is the wrong audience, one. Or two, you have to look at what your products and services is and find another way to apply to people's lives, because what you were trying to do is not necessarily working like we did with weddings. So become obsessed with the market, not so much with marketing. People become obsessed with what's the best platform to market in, what's the best magazine to be in, what's the best billboard to be at, and that's the wrong thing to do. You have to understand what that market is. Your product and service exists because someone needed it. Who was that someone that needed it? And find more people like that. Seth Godin, he wrote this book called This is Marketing. And he actually said something that resonated with me was, if you take a bottle of food coloring and you throw it in the ocean, nothing will happen in the ocean. You won't see the color change, it'll just float away. If you take a bottle of food coloring, dump it in someone's pool in their backyard, you're gonna see that it turns bright blue, or whatever food coloring you throw in there. And so you have to think of that pool as someone's social network, and how you can get to more pools throughout the neighborhood, throughout the city, throughout the state, throughout the country. So those pools will start changing colors, and eventually, opposed to having a whole ocean, which your product cannot compete in, you'll have a town of pools dyed in blue. Your product will be in the hands of these people and their network. So you have to start small and really obsess with that market. understand what are the demographics, look at your competitors. How are your competitors delivering that message, and how are they doing better than you or doing worse than you? Learn what to do, what not to do. A lot of people steal ideas from each other. That's why we're all here. We're taking ideas from each other, and that's okay in the workplace, and I encourage it. Danny Meyer's Union Street Cafe can only seat 600 people in his restaurant, and he was obsessed with marketing and advertising. And he thought, who am I going to seat in this restaurant? Who are these 600 people going to be? I'm not just going to open my doors up and just accept everyone. I want to market and advertise to a high check average, to someone who goes out to eat often. So he looked at his inventory and did that. And that's what I love about working at Tuscan is it's really, really easy to market and advertise our stuff because it's food, it's emotional, it's sentimental to people. People love it. It's a lot of things that they can't make at home. It's a status, being able to go to a place that's nice and being able to associate yourself with a brand like that. But it's also the hardest job because it's very emotional. And we rely on the individuals that we hire to execute the mission. And one overcooked appetizer can just completely ruin the experience, or one server who had a bad day can completely ruin the experience. And next thing you know, everyone's pool is now being changed colors in a negative way. So we're super careful about that, and feedback is very important. And we continue to obsess over the market and continue to obsess who these people are that we want in our restaurant. And you're not going to get that right away. You're not going to understand that right away. You have to let the product kind of work itself out, the service work itself out, and see who is resonating with it the best. So that's a little bit about marketing and advertising and kind of how I see it and how I apply it to our business. Any questions on that piece there? All right.
Go on if you want to break the silence. I was really curious how you found out more. Like we mentioned surveys to find out who your market was. How did you get those surveys to the people?
Yeah, so we use Constant Contact for an email marketing platform. People can use MailChimp. There's some other platforms that you can use, and you can create surveys within these email marketing platforms. And then what we did was we created our website way in advance. So, 6-7 months before the product even started, before the restaurant opened up. And then as soon as you got onto the website, a pop-up came up and said, enter your email and survey for a chance to win a dinner for two. And so now people were intrigued and they were like, I want to win a dinner for two. What do I have to do? We kept it simple to 5 questions. We asked, how often do you go out to eat? 1 to 2 times, 3 to 4 times a month, weekly, and so forth. Do you live in Portsmouth, or do you live within 5 miles of Portsmouth? And then what is your position? And we are able to understand people's positions in industry. We use Glassdoor and LinkedIn for salary insights to understand what their spending habits will be. And then have you dined at any of our other restaurants? Just simple questions like that. You don't want the survey to be longer than 6 questions, because then people just stop halfway through and they're not even going to finish. But you want to incentivize them with something, because what happens if you don't, then you're going to get the older demographic to only opt in. If you give them something, then the younger demographic and millennials will be able to opt in and provide their feedback. So it's important to do that. We also did it on social media. We had a link. We used Linktree, which is basically I think it's like $10 a month, very inexpensive, and it lets you apply multiple links on your Instagram page and Facebook page, because you can only put one link on your Instagram title. And you click on that, it says enter for a chance to win a dinner for two, take the survey. And then we shared the survey with our staff, and we said, hey, do you folks mind sharing the survey with your family and friends? So we tapped into a lot of different groups for that survey. And then the survey comes in to an email. We created an email that we dumped all the responses to. And then we just kind of graphed it all out and saw the answers and was able to then understand who we have to kind of target to that is not interested in our restaurant that we want to come into, and then who is our target market, who is our demographic, so we can create wine dinners and events that they're more apt to come to keep them interested in coming back and not just turning us into a special occasion restaurant. All right, so your personal brand, which is one of my favorite things. A lot of people tend to want to just remove themselves from their brand and focus more on their skills, and other people want to be identified with their brand. At first, I wanted to be removed from my brand and not be associated with the food hospitality and focus more on my skills. And so I did that through LinkedIn, and what I would do is I would post articles based on marketing, based on sales. My social media was focused on sales, general sales. At the time, I was doing catering and event sales for the restaurant. So I was just focusing on that. I wasn't necessarily talking about food at all. And I was able to build a brand on that. But then I found that I needed to identify myself more with the brand to help grow the brand. And so that's when I started to associate myself more in the food industry and real estate industry. And Wonderman says a brand has everything from advertising to packaging to customer service to communications to people. And I think in order to be a successful brand, your employees have to be a reflection of your brand as well. And in order to do that, I recommend your LinkedIn should be focused on your position at the company. You should have a headshot that is clearly visible for people to understand who you are. Your photo behind your headshot, your wallpaper, could be something industry related. So I think I have some wines on my backdrop of the photo. And then education should be on there. Your bio should be on there. This is all the stuff that people think is difficult to put in, but it's not. It's very easy. The difficult part is to being persistent in posting content. You have to post articles based on your industry. You have to engage with people who are posting things in your industry to be able to be looked at. If you're just going to create a LinkedIn page and just let it speak for itself, no one's going to bother reaching out except for recruiters. If you want to engage executives, assistants, high-level employees, then you have to post content that educates you and educates them. So it's important to follow people on LinkedIn that you aspire to and that are similar positions that you hold in different companies, that you can take their articles and repost it and just share it to your small circle and just watch that circle just grow and explode. Become the expert in your area. So if you think that you have the credibility and the success, then I suggest you start sharing that with people. Be looked at as the expert in what you do in your market. And that will just increase your group of friends, your contacts, your networking group. Start with a blog. Share that blog on your Facebook, on your Instagram, and then that blog will turn into a vlog, a video log, stories on your social posts, working with the chamber to share some of your information to other leaders, creating an email campaign, your personal email campaign that you send out to your contacts list from work, from your friends, and so forth, and go to networking events. And networking events are one of my favorite things to do, virtually, in person. You get to meet a ton of people and talk to them, talk about your brand, talk about the brand. B&I groups are great. That's a group with one profession in a group, so you're not competing with someone else in the food industry or so forth. You all have your one offering, and you get to share it without feeling like you need to compete with someone else who's going to take the business. What else do I have here? Social media. So I think your personal brand needs to be aligned with your company on social media. Post things that are relevant, not crazy. Those days are over. Delete all your old weird Facebook and Instagram pictures. Archive them. I highly suggest that. And hashtags. Hashtags are very important. People use them to just scroll and see relevant products. I use best-hashtags.com. best-hashtags.com. And what you do is, if I post a picture of a lamp, I put in the word light, and they give me the top 20 hashtags that are being used for that word to drive more traffic to that post. So I type in the word motivation, I type in the word martini, and then all these words that are being used you can copy and paste them and put them right in your post. I usually put them in the comment section and not in the actual subject sentence. So that way, when someone comments, it gets buried and it looks more organic. People hate seeing sponsored or anything like that will imply that the post was not organically interested, like their peers and people weren't organically interested in the product. So I suggest putting it down there. Community involvement is important for your brand. Being a board director of something, I'm on the board of directors of Roadhouse in Lawrence. I think finding something that you're passionate about is important to be a part of. Don't just give 100% to your job, give 100% to your community. Annual fundraisers, attending those are great. And you meet people who have a disposable income at those events. So you're able to network with them, and then they'll introduce you to their network. So that's a great way to build your personal brand and the company as well. And, Tuscan Kitchen really has a commitment to the community. We do a ton of fundraisers and monthly and yearly events for our community, Boys and Girls Club, Lazarus House, Crossroads House, Chase Home for Children. It goes on and on and on. And what you start to see is by you doing this with your company, your employees will start adapting and picking up those habits, and then they'll start being involved in these community events. And again, that just helps your overall brand image, your brand image, your company's brand image. And then again, if you want to separate yourself from the business, I recommend just not talking about that industry specific and just focusing more on your skills and sharing those articles and blogs and content that highlight you and your skills and your credibility. Anyone have any questions about that?
Edwin, there's a couple questions in the chat. I don't know, can you see that, or do you want me to read them to you?
Yeah, can you read them to me?
So John asked, what KPIs do you use to determine your success in your marketing campaigns?
So typically, we have a couple software programs that help us keep track of these indicators. For our events and catering, we have this thing called Triple Seat, which lets us understand the type of communication that we have with people. Then we're able to log it and see the type of events that they have and put a dollar amount to the activity that we had with them. With the restaurant, it's really tough to understand that because it's very transactional. We can't really tell if the guest has returned to our restaurant. So we've invented a loyalty program, a reward program that lets us track their spending habits and understand how much they're spending. We ask some questions like, how did you hear about us? So we can understand what platform we used was most successful. Was it a billboard? Was it an email? Was it a referral? So those types of things we use. But for the most part, it's really our comment cards and our reviews on Yelp and social media that we use, we log, and then we react to them. So we're kind of all over the place. We don't necessarily have a product that will help us with those hard numbers. So it's a little bit of feedback and experience that we hear from the general managers, comment cards, and social media interaction. Any other comments?
Nothing in the chat right now.
Awesome. All right. Guerrilla marketing. So one of my favorite things. And when I think of guerrilla marketing, I think of a gorilla pounding pavement, which is exactly that. It's very cost-effective and effective marketing and advertising strategies. So this is something that I recommend everyone to take advantage of. LinkedIn Sales Navigator is my favorite. It's $79 a month. It gives you access to more tools that LinkedIn has to offer. So you can search specifically for someone with a specific title and a specific industry that you want to pitch or cold call. I recommend using that. I think you can try it for a month free. It's not something that you can sign up and just have leads sent over to you. You have to do the work. You have to search for people. But you can search for a position, an executive assistant position or a general manager. And then you'll get a list of all these people with those titles. And it will then tell you what you have in common. It'll say you both went to Mass College of Pharmacy, you both have a friend, or you both liked this article. It will also tell you what his or her latest activity was. So, Steve posted this article about solar panels. So then I would look a little into that article, read it, comment it, and then in a couple days message him. So that way I don't just come out of the blue with an inbox. I've engaged with them already. I've built that report with them already, and then I'm able to cold call them on his inbox. And a lot of times they don't let you send them an inbox email through their LinkedIn. But with LinkedIn Navigator, you get so many freebies that you can force a message through and they'll get it in their inbox. And those are successful because they're not being spammed with all these messages, only just a few. So the ones that are going through, they're most likely reading. I really don't bother reaching out to people who haven't posted anything in about 6 months because they're not really active on their LinkedIn. So I don't want to waste my message credits or my time. So I just move on. But what I do find, if it's someone that I really want to get in touch with, I then research what their email is. I use rocketreach.co, which is a free, I think you can pay for it, but if you just Google it, it's free. And I would type in Pfizer email format. And then they would give me about 6 different, if I'm trying to get in touch with someone at Pfizer, it would give me 6 different email combos. First.last@Pfizer.com, first initial, last name at Pfizer.com. And it would show what the success rate for each of those emails are. Typically the first 3 are the most highest, 80%, 30%, 20%. And those are the email formats you want to use. You don't want to send a mass email because a lot of times these email boxes are smart and they'll know that you're sending a mass email from someone who's never talked to them before. So they'll block it, they'll bounce it, and you'll never be able to send an email to that company unless someone emails you. So I'd send an email specifically to that person and just create a running log and copy and paste that message, personalize a little bit, and send that over to someone else that you want to send it to. Networking events, downloading the attendee list beforehand is something that I always do. I want to go into a networking event knowing who's there, and I want to make my time the most useful there. So I write down who it is that I want to meet. And then I find out who the sponsor is, and I try and get in touch with those people. So at this networking event, virtually or in person, I'll make it a point to say hello to them, talk to them, introduce myself. If I can't find them, I usually just go right to the sponsor. The sponsors are always pretty much involved and their company's involved. So they may know people, they may know who to direct you to as they've probably been there a couple of times because they sponsor the event often. And then once I meet the person that I want to talk to, I have my casual conversation, try to figure out a little bit about them. I don't hit them with the pitch right away. It's just organic, just talking to them a little bit about what I do, what they do. It's very, very important, even if you don't like sports, to find out who won the last game before you go into a networking event. It's a great icebreaker. And then if you don't have anything to say after that, talk about the weather, talk about the food, but just have some things that you can just spark a conversation with before you go in there. You should also do your research before going in there. So if I wanted to get in touch with these 3 individuals, I did a little bit of research as to what they're doing. My favorite is really just understanding what the latest in their company is. So the last year networking event that I went to, I wanted to meet someone at Bank of America, and I saw the latest stock information for Bank of America and what their founder did for community service most lately. And then I was able to find someone say, hey, you know, I think it's really great that your founder is so invested in the Boys and Girls Club and they did this lately. And they're like, oh yeah, that's one of my favorite things that we do and so forth. And now the person knows you're genuinely invested in them. So now you can talk about your brand. Now you can talk about your product. I try and keep my conversation to 2 to 3 minutes with each person. If I have a few people that I want to see, and I just try and break away nicely. I say, listen, thank you so much for your time. I'm sure that there's a couple people here that you'd like to meet, as I would. So I want to give you the opportunity to do that. Let's pick this back up next week. Can I have your business card? I take their business card, I run out of the room, and I write down what we talked about, something emotional. So like if they talked about their dog, or if they talked about their kid, or weather or whatever. And then a solution that I tried to pitch, or something that I think would be good for me to follow up with them about. So take that business card, write that down, move on to the next person. And then in a couple of days, when you have that business card, you're going to go ahead and email them, not the next day, wait 2 to 3 days, email them, and then with those points on the business card to show them that you actually cared about what they talked about and that you want to continue having that conversation. Any other questions on that?
I wanted to ask a question about, you guys did a great job this summer with your outdoor dining in Salem. I ride the rail trail all the time. How was the experience outside of that in terms of either delivery? Are you picking up, you know, services to do delivery and takeaway? You're set up for, you know, takeout obviously in the markets, but what about the restaurant side? How has that gone?
Yeah, so the pandemic has really, we went into the mentality that we're gonna run towards it, not run away from it. And we have to pivot. And so we brought the restaurant outside. We had a really successful summer. People loved it. And then some people still don't feel safe going in. So we did offer takeout, and we have a curbside pickup. We did Tuscan Market online, where you can go online and shop, and then we'll bring everything out to you. We tried some delivery services. We found that the delivery services were taking anywhere from 25 to 40% of the cost. And so we really thought that it's not lucrative for us to do that. Let's just do takeout. And then if we can deliver it within the area, we certainly will. So we've never been afraid to really adapt and change our business model a bit to get that service and good across in whatever climate we're currently in. And thanks for bringing that up, because I think that's important for your brand and to market that. So a lot of people didn't know we had that tent outside. A lot of people don't know that we have the curbside pickup and the takeout. So we have to advertise that. We did it through social media, through email marketing, and through activation of the space. Big tent, flowers, games. You can't just put a little tent up, put your tables out, and expect people to come. You have to put a little bit more into it. So we went ahead and we took everything out from inside the restaurant. We didn't spend all this money to buy new things. We didn't have the money to spend. No restaurant really had the money to spend. But we put the effort and we put the creativity towards it. And we continue to do that with takeout. For Tuscan Village, we have Hanover and Corsa apartments that we do room service delivery for. So we've been successful with that, and we're going to continue pivoting and changing as we need to.
Yeah, Edwin, I just want to commend you and Tuscan Brands also. I mean, the Merrimack Valley Chamber actually had a lunch program when it was, restaurants were just starting to open back up. You guys welcomed us. You didn't say no. You made it, convenient for us, and I think that really made the difference. And our members some of them who never been there before, they came outside. They never seen the tent before. They said we're coming back with our families. So I think that you guys really stayed ahead of the curve, which I think made the difference for you.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, it was a great event.
And your tent was probably the best of any outdoor dining experience that we had. I mean, you had the pizza oven out there, or a real bar. It was very spacious. You could sit socially distantly, and we came back numerous times during the spring, summer. So
Thank you. Yeah, it's funny because we've been always wanting to do that for 10 years and we never got around to it. It's kind of like when you put your house on the market, you finally get everything done that you wanted to do. And that's what the pandemic did to us. So it was a nice jumpstart for us. But I talked a little bit about social media and email marketing. And one thing that's very, very, very successful that we use for marketing is influencers. So influencers are not necessarily people who have 30,000 followers. When you find someone who has great engagement in their comments, in their stories, the people who they follow are within your vicinity. So you can, if you want someone to promote your product, most of the time they'll do it for free because they need content and they want to look good, like they're sponsoring something. So we typically do it with a gift card trade, or we invite them in and we say, come on in, we'll comp $100 or something, and just share your experience like you were a food critic or a blogger. But we ask them to send us their stats and their demographic. And a lot of influencers will have 50% of their followers from the West Coast and 20% from China and only 15% from the greater Boston area. What good do they do for us? So do your homework on an influencer and make sure that they're the right person that you want. We have influencers with 5,000 followers come in and some with 150,000 followers come in. It's all about that engagement and that type of person that you want to come in, in that pool that you want to dye that different color. Email marketing is very important. I recommend not sending more than 2 to 3 emails a month, as you'll spam them. If you have something that you want to talk about every week, every day, that's what your social media is for. Creating a post, creating a blog. That way, people who are invested, they can go to your social media, they can go to your blog and find out what those updates are. Don't spam them with email because everybody else is, and you don't want to fall into that unsubscribe list. Your social media should be informative, but it should also be fun and flirty. Social media, Instagram is now. People love what's going on now. What am I missing out? What can I do? You should never go ahead and try and say, oh, this is the pasta that I think you should get today. This is a steak that I think you should get today. Dinner is this today. It should be fun. It's like, what's your favorite cannoli flavor? Or what's your favorite place what's your favorite restaurant to visit? You're not necessarily always asking them to come and dine. You're asking them to engage, but a little bit differently. So think of how you can do that for your post. And it's important to create a location for your posts. So a lot of the times we would do Seaport Boston for our Boston location, Newburyport for Newburyport. And people, when they're traveling, they'll look on their feed through a location. So they'll see some ideas of places they can go, places they can shop, services they can use, places they can stay based on that geotag. So be sure every post that you do, you create a marker. You create a marker at your town, Salem, New Hampshire, Burlington, Mass, wherever it is, so people can refer back to that. Referral programs are great. We have a VIP program. It's a great way to understand people's spending habits, their times that they visit. So I highly recommend investing in something like that. It's a great metric that lets us understand our client a bit more so than social media, and provides us with reports that we need to be able to measure these metrics. And I think that, pounding the pavement, visiting these businesses is important too. Typically, when I go out there, I take a picture of the directory of a building. And then I go back to my office and I do my homework. I find out the name of that person, Google them on Rocket Reach, find out that email. I send them an email, I call them, and you're reaching the switchboard with the name. So you have more credibility. You're not, hi, can I speak to someone in HR or someone who handles your payroll? They're gonna say, sorry, they're busy. If you speak with someone with a name, that switchboard receptionist automatically thinks that you have a report with them. She's gonna send you right to their mailbox or right to their name. And I think that, those guerrilla marketing tactics is gonna help you become the billboard for your company, will help you grow your brand image, will help grow your brand image. And the last thing that I want to hit on is PR. So a lot of companies cannot afford a PR company. We were in a position that we had a PR company, and I think we were dumping thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars a month for a PR company. And they did a great job for us. They were able to get us out there, give us some good press, but we started to understand that this is some stuff that we can do internally. And I want to share some tips and tricks with you to help you get into these newspapers and magazines. So first and foremost, HARO, H-A-R-O, help a reporter out. And then HARO is H-A-R-O, help a reporter out. That's a website where reporters and journalists is H-A-J-O. Press release companies, marketers use this because people, bloggers, reporters, news reporters, lifestyle influencers, anyone who's looking to write about a product, a service, a lifestyle, will post something on there, and it's an open forum. You can go ahead and send them your information. So I highly recommend signing up for that. It's free. You can get a digest. I get something sent to me at 5 in the morning every day and 5 o'clock in the evening every day. So I can just peruse and say, oh, this article pertains to us. And I get so many. I'm talking about fitness with Drive. I'm talking about real estate with Tuscan Village, food with Tuscan Kitchen, manufacturing with Artisan Chefs and the manufacturing company that we have. So I have a lot to talk about. And I want to be able to find a press release opportunity that I can send them something. Another way that I find ways to hit up reporters is I look for articles on my competitors. So a competitive restaurant in Boston, Ocean Prime, if someone wrote about them, I look for that journalist. Sometimes that journalist email is on there. If not, I do some research on their social media platform, on Instagram, Facebook, Google, and I find out who that journalist is. And I just shoot them a message. Hey, I really like this article that you read about Ocean Prime. That prime roll that they serve is one of my favorite things. I work for Tuscan Kitchen. I love an opportunity to share some content with you. They may write back, they may not. Follow up with them in a couple months if you have something juicy that you want to talk about. 7 out of 10 reporters typically like a press release sent to them. A press release sounds scary for someone who has no idea what they're doing with marketing. But if you have a little bit of creative writing skills, so think about that 7th grade creative writing class and use those skills. A press release, you just need to talk about who, what, where, and how. Exactly that. Who, what, where, and how. Doesn't matter how you position it, but that's what a reporter wants to know. The title has to be something catchy. Tuscan Kitchen opens up skating rink while Massachusetts closes their skating rinks. Something catchy that will interest them in reading. That first line is your first impression. If it's not catchy, it's not good. If it's not providing a solution, not shedding light on something exciting, they're not going to bother reading it. Don't bother writing it. And then you want to include a quote. Include a quote in your press release from someone in your company or someone that's used your service, so that way they have all the materials that they need to write a successful report about you. If they're interested, they'll go ahead and reach out and ask for some more information. The press release contacts, I'm back, sorry about that. The press release contacts that you want to send to, you'll use that HARO platform. It's an email that says, email me with your information. You just email them right away. I like to attach some other places that we've been mentioned to show them that we're not just a hole in the wall and that we have some exciting stuff to talk about, and other people think so too. And if you don't have that yet, then reach out to a blogger. Start small, so that way you have a link that you can share with them that people care and write about you. And then Google contacts, news anchors, news reporters, editors for Eagle Tribune. What I did when we lost our PR company, we had no PR contacts. So I went and Googled, food industry, Tuscan, Italian, found all those contacts of people who wrote about those industries, reached out to them and say, hey, would you mind giving me your information so I can send you a press release when it comes time to share some information? They always say yes. They always want stuff to write about. So don't be afraid to reach out to them and ask them for that. Become friends with editors, bloggers, and just put them on your good side, and just remind them of the stuff that you do by sending them a press release every quarter. And with magazines and newspapers, you kind of have to scratch their back in order for you to kind of get your back scratched. So pick up an advertising if you can. If there's an opportunity where you can spend a little bit of money on an ad and help them out, they're going to reach out to their subscribers and their advertisers first for some content before pitching to the public. So invest in them and they'll invest in you. And if you can't invest at that time, invest in sharing their magazine, buy their subscription, attend their events, buy a ticket to their event, and invite them to dinner, give them a product or service that you have so they can write about it. Treat them as an influencer too. And I think by using what I just talked about for press releases, you'll have a good chance in getting your name out there in some local papers, in some national articles and blogs. Just really fine tune that press release and be sure to send it out correctly. And that's pretty much all that I have. I'm sure that we'll have some questions. If we don't, that's okay. But if you have any questions, feel free to ask.
Perfect. Yeah, we have time for a couple of questions if anyone has any. I just want to say thank you to Edwin, though. That was a great presentation. And does anyone have any questions available?
So John wrote in the chat, what are your core SEO strategies?
So SEO, we actually have someone in our restaurant that helps with SEO. Websites specifically, we make sure to update our content often on our website. We change our bios from time to time. We add reviews on there. We add links on our website to other companies. So if we have a wedding page with links of people who can provide services, by providing links for other high traffic restaurants, your website will be more prominent in the Google searches. Google's very smart. They know when your information is forced. You want to go ahead and kind of create a lot of text. Google looks for text and they look for images. And if your website is very, very wonky, very slow to download, Google's going to push it down. If your website does not download quickly on your phone or on your desktop, Google's going to keep pushing it down. So I highly suggest that we update our website from time to time to make sure that our optimization is up and high. And then same thing with social media. You can advertise to a specific group of people. So I think if you can find out who that market is, spend $5 to $10 on each ad, try having it to be a video. You'll get more visibility with that. I think those are some good ways to start with some SEO.
Thank you. Anyone else with a question for Edwin? Well, I just want to say thank you to Edwin again. And to me, it's amazing how quickly and how big the Tuscan brands are growing. We're really looking forward to seeing what they have in the coming years and months. And Edwin, I just want to say thank you very much for taking the time out of your very busy schedule to join the Merrimack Valley Chamber Next Generation Leaders Group. It was an amazing presentation, something that everyone can take back to their own personal business and lives to help grow their business and their personal life as well. So I want to say thank you. Anything you want to add, Edwin, before we sign off?
Yeah, if anyone wants to reach out with me that has any questions, feel free. I'm happy to provide some more insight. eSantana@TuscanBrands.com. I see some chats here. Thank you, everyone. I'm so happy that I was able to share some insight with you. Just remember to keep marketing you and your brand, and I'm sure you'll have a really prosperous 2021.
Perfect. Thank you again, thank you again, Edwin, and thank you to TD Bank for your sponsorship today. We appreciate it, and we look forward to seeing you all next time. Keep your eye on the calendar for the upcoming Young Professional event, which will be featured next month.
Thank you.